Road test coming up for you, extended headlight demonstration coming up for you by popular demand. But before we get going, let me show you something first. Because after all, this sort of price range, about $100,000 for this fully loaded tester, you can expect a really high level of build quality in here, and in a lot of ways, you can actually hear it. All right, now we've got some learning and some driving to do, so let's go. Recent powertrain updates have resulted in significant improvements to the driving experience of the 2023 Volvo XC90 plug-in hybrid, even if my decked-out tester's nearly six-figure sticker price puts a variety of all-electric competitors within reach for shoppers too. It's always nice to have choices, and this is a good one if you're after a solid taste of the full luxury electric driving experience but not quite ready to make the leap into a full electric just yet. With partial electric power and the confidence of gas hybrid backup for your longer drives, this machine is a solid choice for a few specific reasons we'll dive into in this video. But first, let's meet the machine on your screen. So pricing for the 2023 Volvo XC90 Recharge starts at $82,650 in the core trim grade. The Plus trim grade makes it $87,600 with added must-have features and tech, and my decked-out Ultimate tester comes in from $93,550. From there, the $1,700 lounge package, the audio system upgrade, and the four-corner air suspension system with active chassis make it the better part of 100,000 Canadian dollars for the machine on your screen. Look for standard all-wheel drive with 455 horsepower and 523 pounds of torque. Key competitors include the Porsche Cayenne, Acura MDX, BMW X5, and Mercedes GLE with gas power. And on the electric side, you might want to consider cross-shopping this against models like the Tesla Model Y, BMW iX, or Genesis electrified GV70. Now, I want you to get the most out of our time together here, so let's kick this off with an overview of some of the terms and terminologies that you need to understand as an XC90 shopper, and we'll also learn why this engine no longer has a supercharger in the process. When you're shopping for a Volvo, models that start with XC are crossovers like this one, and the XC90 is the largest of these, taking a place above the smaller XC60 and even smaller XC40. So it's XC40, XC60, and XC90 as the small, medium, and large choices on this menu. The XC40 is available with both gas hybrid power or in an all-electric version, and the bigger XC60 and XC90, like my tester, come in gas hybrid and gas plug-in hybrid or PHEV, PHEV versions, but not an all-electric. Volvos with plugs are designated as recharge models and include both all-electric and plug-in hybrid machines, both of which have a plug-in port. So if the Volvo you're considering is wearing a Recharge badge, it's either all-electric or a plug-in hybrid like this tester. Volvo plug-in hybrid models run their most powerful engine, the T8, and all T8 designated Volvos are plug-in hybrid powered, which means they have a plug-in port, which means they wear a Recharge badge. The original T8 plug-in hybrid powertrain launched for 2015, combining the efforts of a 2-liter 4-cylinder gas engine with turbocharger and supercharger to drive the front wheels, and an electric motor to drive the rear ones. Recent updates to the T8 were applied for model year 2022, so my tester is running the latest and greatest version of this plug-in hybrid engine. Specifically, there's a new larger capacity battery, and engineers ditched the 87 horsepower rear electric motor for a considerably more powerful 143 horsepower unit. That's 56 more electric ponies available, which makes a major difference in how this machine drives. So with that big boost in electric power and torque at the rear axle, there's no longer a need for a supercharger on the gas engine, which is why this 2-liter 4-cylinder is now a turbo-only ordeal. The end result is a hybrid engine that's not only Volvo's most powerful, but also one that's able to cut fuel use every time you drive it, and even travel 50 or 60 kilometers solely on stored battery power if you plug in and recharge overnight. That's enough to get most Canadians off of gas for their daily commuting and errands, meaning many XC90 Recharge owners wind up visiting the gas station a few times a year instead of a few times a month. By the way, towing capacity is rated at 5,000 pounds. When do I charge an XC90 plug-in hybrid? Whenever it's convenient to do so. Recharging a plug-in hybrid like this is never mandatory. As long as there's gas in the tank, you're good to drive. The more you charge, the more you'll save on fuel, but you can drive your XC90 for days, weeks, or months without ever plugging it in if you like. There is no situation where charging up is mandatory, and once the battery level drops below all-electric driving capability, the gas engine automatically kicks in to keep your drive going and keep that battery sustained for regular gas hybrid operation. This gives you an all-electric for shorter drives, full gas hybrid backup for longer ones, and a seamless and automatic switch between the two. There's no effect on performance once the all-electric driving range is depleted either.
So this can make a compelling alternative to an all-electric for the shopper after a strong taste of that EV driving experience, but also the confidence of gasoline-electric hybrid backup for use in extreme cold weather, for towing, and for handling longer trips with fewer interruptions.
Powerful LED illumination is clean and white, soaking the road like a floodlight with excellent reach and spread, especially from the high beams. From the driver's seat, expect eye comfort to be maintained well after dark, and an enhancement to nighttime driving confidence. I appreciated the dark-themed, minimal-looking digital instrument cluster here too. It's hardly distracting at all as you keep your eyes focused up the road ahead. After dark, the performance of this tester's headlights left me feeling very nicely backed up for traveling through the heart of Northern Ontario's Moose Country. Though I did find the automatic high beams tended to turn themselves on and off on empty highways at times, requiring some manual help pretty regularly. As you watch this footage, keep in mind that the camera I'm using to record it can't see in the dark as well as the human eye, so while this footage is a good representation of what to expect, in real life, I think you'll find the performance of these headlights looks even more vivid and powerful than it does here on your screen. My tester has what'll likely be the most comfortable seats you visit all day, and you can activate a massage with a click or two. If you're feeling stressed, an all-electric evening glide down an unlit winding highway while blasting Phil Collins and taking in a level 3 massage will sort you right out. During the 9 to 5, the XC90's parking lot manners are very easy to appreciate. The turning circle is small and light, switching from drive to reverse requires a half-inch nudge on the shifter, and that shifting is smooth and quiet since you're usually maneuvering here in all-electric mode. The ultra-wide-angle parking camera and sharp on-screen graphics remove second-guessing from maneuvering in tight quarters, and additional useful camera angles, including a 360-degree bird's-eye view, are easy to call up.
So from the driver's seat, expect the XC90 to feel smaller and lighter and more easygoing to use in tight quarters than its size leads on, and excellent graphics from this backup camera system even in low-light situations. Here's a closer look for you. Like I can see individual rocks on the ground behind me in this gravel parking lot here. And we've got a couple of different modes and settings that we can change. So if I want the 360 camera, I just tap here. And now I've got that bird's eye view from top down that you're right in there. Like, these graphics are awesome. And by just tapping the vehicle here on the screen, we can call up these 4 other camera angles. So if I want to see the curb view on the driver's side, I just tap there, back to 360, push this camera to see in front, this camera to see behind, and if we needed, some additional controls down here on the bottom to turn your parking sensors on and off, and also your rear auto braking system on and off. So some great graphics on this system, some great performance even in low light. Really appreciate the very wide angle to that backup camera, and ultimately this all just adds up to take the second guessing out of moving around in tight quarters.
2023 Volvo XC90 Recharge Road Test. Solid control over noise levels, vibrations, and the overall feel of my tester's drive prompted me to spend a lot of time relaxing at the wheel, though I did wish for a smoother and more composed ride in a few challenging situations, and I figure some shoppers may wish for a little more engagement and feedback from the machine too. Over the course of a few thousand kilometers together during my latest visit to the XC90, I once again enjoyed it the most as a highway touring machine. On smooth and winding northern highways, I found my tester's ride to be solid and gentle, steering to be light and laid back, and seating to be excellent where comfort and support is concerned. Underneath, my tester's active air suspension system smooths and stabilizes the ride in real time, soaking up small to moderate lumps in the road as the shocks react to it in real time. From the driver's seat, the XC90 glides where fixed suspension crossovers tend to jiggle, and sets the driver up for a creamy smooth ride that isn't easily disturbed. The body is more stable more of the time, that's less jouncing and disturbance for the occupants and their seats within. It's a soft and smooth ride that leans hard to the luxury side of the equation, and if you find the new Grand Cherokee Summit Reserve or BMW X5 to be a little too choppy and sporty on their feet, you'll likely appreciate the softer approach favored by the XC90. I also noted consistently less elevation of cabin noise levels at higher speeds, on roughly textured pavement, and over broken tarmac than I expected, so even cruising at a good clip over coarsely textured asphalt, it's easy to keep a conversation going without raising your voice. The audiophile level Bowers & Wilkins premium stereo system isn't cheap, but this $3,750 option remains both my favorite listening experience on four wheels, and the feature from my tester I missed the most after returning it. The powerful, vivid, and bright playback has a way of encouraging the driver to rediscover new details on their favorite tracks, to sample new kinds of music, and to twist its chrome-studded volume dial ever higher to drench the cabin with rich, powerful sound. On the highway, my tester's assist systems feel well calibrated and on the ball. I noted no alarming or sudden maneuvers from autonomous inputs to the steering and brakes, with interventions consistently demonstrating a well-thought-out, smooth and gentle action that makes them feel easy to trust in quick order. Still, some drivers may be surprised by how much of the driving the XC90 wants to do. For instance, when self-applying steering inputs to magnetize the vehicle to the center of its lane, it makes steering adjustments fairly assertively. So if you feel the XC90 frequently squirming beneath you, or like you're arguing with the steering, try to steer less, lighten your grip on the wheel, and allow the system to do more of the work.
As a pretty hands-on driver, I definitely found that took me a bit of getting used to, but ultimately resulted in a smoother and more relaxing drive once I did.
We're mostly showing you smooth roads in this footage, but on the roughest roads I test SUVs on, I found my tester's ride comfort and feedback levels to be slightly disappointing. Few SUVs handle my worst-case scenario testing surfaces without some drama, but largely thanks to upsized 21-inch wheels, I found a ride that was choppier and often more abrupt than I expected, as well as a higher than expected level of feedback through the steering system as the front tires encountered potholes, bumps, and cracks in the road. From the driver's seat, this means that more of the roughness from the road is being transmitted to your backside and fingertips, and though this complaint is relatively minor, it does draw away from the overall refinement in specific situations. It takes a lot to break the XC90's composure, but those doing plenty of off-road or rough-road driving should be considering a model with smaller wheels and thicker tires for best results. My tester was fast, and the electrified engine acts like a high-performance torque dispenser. In all-electric mode with the gas engine offline, the more powerful rear axle motor makes electric driving much more responsive. Now you can squash torsos into seatbacks a little, zip more eagerly through traffic and merging, and get deeper into the throttle before the gas engine engages to provide more power. In day-to-day driving, most drivers will find the power available in all-electric mode to be more than sufficient and a fair bit of fun. Or engage the XC90's power mode to put all 455 horsepower within striking distance. Full throttle here causes the machine to leap urgently ahead right now. Though the soundtrack and shifting seem calibrated to be more refined than engaging, the ability to instantly and quietly apply massive waves of torque to the wheels never gets old.
Here's a look at how we can set up the drive, by the way. So most of this is going to happen here through the central screen. We're going to start down here with the settings button, then up into this menu here for driving. Now you can see we've got our drive modes there across the top: hybrid, power, pure, off-road, and constant all-wheel drive. We've got the option here to always start in the pure drive mode. That's the all-electric drive mode, so we can default to that if we like. Also battery usage here, so auto, hold, or charge. Those three modes allow you to control when and how your stored electric power is being used by the driveline. Then we're down into some safety feature and safety assistance functions here. We've also got creep, which we can turn on or off. I like it off. Creep is what most vehicles do when they're in gear, but you're not touching either of the pedals. They just slowly creep forward. With creep turned off here, I actually have to apply the accelerator to make the vehicle start moving.
Enthusiast drivers aren't likely to find the sporty signals they're craving from this machine though. The engine is quiet, there are no paddle shifters, the steering is light on feedback, the ride is soft, and the brakes, though powerful, are somewhat vague feeling of the pedal. This all makes the XC90 easy to drive smoothly and gently. Still, stuffing the accelerator to the carpet is sure to generate some big smiles every time, especially from a standstill where the rear electric motor really helps punch the XC90 off the line after a careful but quick initial rollout. On board, the interior hits the mark in most areas but misses it in a few. The seating is the star of the show, the leather is soft, inviting, and so fragrant you'll smell it on your clothes all day long. Massage functionality aside, they're also very comfortable. The second row of my tester featured a built-in booster seat for smaller passengers, and third row seats fold flat when not required to open up more cargo space. The cargo area is flat and wide, features a useful cubby to keep smaller items in place, and even has dedicated controls that allow for manual operation of the air suspension system, to lift and lower the XC90's body at a button press from the cargo hold, to ease loading and unloading if required. Back up front, the overall design is clean and tidy, and nothing's more complicated looking than it needs to be. Minimized control and button surfaces leave more room for wood and leather and metal and stitching, and while the vertical touchscreen takes center stage in the forward dash, it's still materials and colors and textures that pull hardest for your attention. You will need to use that central screen for a multitude of functions, perhaps after logging into it as a dedicated Google device for phone-free access to your apps, maps, and more. This new and improved interface is much more logical and straightforward to use, not to mention more responsive than earlier versions of the system, though accessing climate control functions and certain other settings still requires a careful touch on the very bottom edge of the screen. It is a powerful system that's generally pleasant to use, I just wish a few of the supplemental functions were a little easier to access. Elsewhere, expect a consistently upscale feel to everything you can touch and manipulate, right down to the action of the power windows and turn signal lever. I noted no issues with entry, exit, or space, and found sufficient room for 4 adults to relax and lounge comfortably, with second-row legroom striking me as particularly generous. As a whole, I appreciated the cabin's ability to turn in a high-end look and feel without the use of flashy or distracting elements. Much of this interior rewards closer inspection with your eyes and fingertips, but none of it is shouting for your attention, and most of it simply fades into the background as you focus on the scenery passing by. So it's a big spend. What's a shopper to do? Well, those after a taste of the motoring highlife from one of the most compelling plug-in hybrid SUVs on the luxury scene today should find it a solid return on their investment, especially if you'll be making regular use of the all-electric driving range, and doing a lot of long-distance trips where that incredible ride, non-distracting cabin, and monster stereo system will likely see you finding new excuses to make road trips.
Well, thank you for watching. I'm Justin Pritchard. Don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons down below if you learned something new. And until next time, take care and drive safe. You can actually see this flows nicely across more than half of the dashboard. Slight curve to it here, as you can see. And that is a 12.3-inch digital driver instrument cluster display. Beside it over here, a nearly 15-inch touch-activated central display. And it opens up the forward scenery a little bit, so you've got this excellent driving position, fantastic outward sight lines, and that beautiful head-up display floating in front of you there is just the icing on the cake.